Hi everybody, I don't normally do an introduction. It's usually just my hands and pots, which is the most important thing, but I think it's important to explain what goes into making this teapot. I'm going to show you how to make now. I get questions sometimes about, oh, why do teapots cost so much money, or why do things cost what they do. Teapot's probably the most labour intensive pot you can make. I'll show you a close-up. Okay, so we've got body, which is faceted, spouts, lids, and then over here handles that are pulled. Okay, so just going to show you one of each of these things, or maybe two of the spouts, and you'll see what's involved in going into making a teapot. Hello everybody, I'm just doing some faceted teapots here. I've had quite a few good sales of teapots lately, so I thought I'd better restock a little bit. This is a 1.2 kilo ball of clay, for those of you that like to know the weight of pots. It only happens to be 1.2 kilos of clay because that's the length I can store when it comes out the pug mill. I've got a box over on the side there, and they just the 1.2 kilo lengths of clay fit in it perfectly, so that's the only reason why I store them at that. And I just use a piece of clay straight out of the box, wedge it up, and use it. It works quite well, because tea bowls are usually about 600 grams, so if I just break the length of it in half, that gives me 2 tea bowls. But this is going to have a cut-sided faceted body. I'll just take a little bit of time to get the side nice and parallel, because that aids with cutting it. I'll show you in a minute. Taller than it is wide. Bit of clay up from the bottom. Okay, slight wobble there because the battery ran out on the camera. This isn't going to have a sunken in gallery, it's going to have a raised gallery. I'll just close it in a little bit. There's all different types of galleries obviously for teapots, but this one's going to have just a raised gallery that sits on at the top. I'll show you a lid in a minute. It sits in and then comes and folds over the top, so I'll just sort of roughly mark out where it is. What normally happens when I facet the sides of here, when I cut the facets on the side, it pushes this circle out slightly, so I have to trim it, but I'll show you that in a second if it happens. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. It's just a question of cutting the Right, that was the. I've just moved the camera back. Right, this is the bit that normally deforms this neck here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a throwing stick, and I'm going to throw the belly it out a little bit more. There's two reasons for this. One is that I think it looks better, belly down, and secondly it holds more tea. So, aesthetics and function there. This stick's got a notch in it where you can get under the shoulder here, but I quite like the way that it flips the shoulder out a little bit, so I don't use it. I just throw it to here, and then it gives a little nice feature on the shoulder of the pot there. See it there now, just a little tiny curve there makes all the difference. It gives a nice shadow light to it. Just turn this a little bit more over here. Check this rim. You see it's thrown it out a little bit there, so just re-throw that. I managed to turn it back circular. What I'd normally do is if it was a bit too wobbly I'd use a pin, but I'm just going to flatten that gallery, top of that gallery off there so that the lid sits nicely. That's the body of the teapot done. Okay, I'm just throwing some of these teapot lids off the hump here. I find it easier to handle a small bit of clay off the hump. They are quite narrow on these teapots, so we just have to get an idea of where it is. Just form the knob in the centre of it. I do demos for people occasionally, shows, and they say, oh, they make it look so easy. It's not. I find these particularly difficult. Throwing good pots isn't easy. It's a lot of practice and thought. I'm just using my nail here as a guide, thumbnail. It makes the inside corner square and it stops it from flopping down. And that's it. Wouldn't life be boring if everything was easy to do? You can use a wire, if you Japanese use and Koreans use a piece of string to cut these off. I just use a needle. Wet my fingers, run my fingers underneath it like this, and then we just go in horizontally, and that's it off. Okay, the lids are done. Just going to throw some spouts off the hump. You can throw these straight off the wheel head, but this is just what's left of the hump of clay that I had for throwing the lids, so let's just use the last of it, doesn't really matter. I like to throw these a lot wider than I need them, and then I can always cut them down. Just 6 points, tapering it. At this point here is my finger is too thick, and my little finger's too thick. So what I use is the handle of a pin, and you can just throw it against the handle of the pin. I throw this bit longer than I need, and I can always cut it off. And if you practice, you can actually throw. It's almost like a tiny throwing stick. The idea of a good spout is you have a large area here that gathers the tea or the liquid and forces it through an ever narrowing hole, and you get a good pour on it. You see them with their teapots, and they've got spouts that are the same length. You get the dribbly teapots. This one forces it out. You're making a larger hole, forcing it to get smaller, and it gives it a good spout. Just dry this off in order to be able to lift it off, and it's just a question of cutting it carefully and then lifting it off. Okay, well, the final part of this making the teapots are the handles. I'm just going to pull some handles now. I've done videos of this before, but not part of it. And just lay it on a board and use the edge of the board to cut it off. I'll just do another one quickly, and then I've got another half a dozen to make. It's a question of just pulling it down. Best to pull straight off the end of it, otherwise you end up with a lump at the bottom here, and you just have to get rid of that. The smoother the clay, the easier it is. So more groggy clay can snap a little bit sometimes. Just keep turning it. I want quite a wide piece here compared to this part here, because we can always cut this off, and this also allows you, when you come to fit it to the handle, so you don't get a mean handle, a mean attachment, and I'll show you that when I come to put them together. It's another one, so that's the size that we need to be, so it's long enough. Lay it on the board, cut it off.